board member, and of course a longtime friend of Dr. Craig Farrell. We asked Regg, and he graciously agreed to be the chair of this event tonight. And we thank you for that, Regg.
Thank you, Brenda. I'm honored and humbled to be here tonight to pay tribute to a man who was my mentor and very close friend. Who was Dr. Bob, a.k.a. Craig Farrell? For whatever reason, John Farrell, Craig's son, who also attends Brightstone, gave him the name Dr. Bob, and it stuck. It stuck not only with the Brightstone family, but the Vanderbilt Bone and Joint, as well as the community, and people outside of the community knew Craig and loved Craig as Dr. Bob. I want you to imagine just for a minute the Brightstone Songwriters Night as a beautiful tapestry. And with every tapestry, you have a single thread that it starts with. That single thread was Craig Farrell. He had a unique way to weave in personalities, individuals, relationships, and a community to learn more about Brightstone and its mission. His 10-year leadership to Brightstone Songwriters Night leaves a legacy of his caring for these adults with special needs and their families. In Galatians 5:22 and 23, it talks about the fruit of the Spirit. It talks about love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. That was Craig Farrell. He shared those qualities not only with Brenda and her staff at Brightstone, but with the Vanderbilt Bone and Joint Clinic and his partners. He shared that with his patients on a daily basis. And I'll have to just quick tell you a story. I used to go into the office with Craig and see some of his patients in his exam room, and he was so very good at giving you little pearls of wisdom that you could take away. But one of the things, or there's two things that I really remember. One was he was a great listener. He listened to his patients well, but he communicated even better. Now, with that came a little bit of a problem once in a while. Sometimes we would be running a little bit behind. No, notoriously, Craig was behind. And we'd come out of an exam room and Pam would be patiently stamping the floor, saying, and I know she's here, saying, "Come on, Dr. Farrell, we need to get into the next room, let's go." So one day I asked him, I said, "Craig, why don't you wear a watch?" He never wore a watch. He said, "Well, I don't wear a watch because that way I don't have to worry about being on time." I said, "Really?" But it was Farrell time and he made it happen. Craig loved his family. He loved Lorraine deeply. He loved his boys, Aaron and John. He loved Aaron's family, Tanya, Kate, and Cannon. They're here right here in front. But he also loved his extended family, and his extended family was Brightstone. He had a vision. He was a visionary. He thought this out a long time ago, that he wanted to be able to create an opportunity for these adults with special needs to be able to be productive citizens within a community. And he did that. On top of that, he wanted to create an environment where they could go ahead and have a campus and have a home where they could live. And that's one of his dreams. And Brenda and her staff strive to do that every day.
You know
now,
we do.
I've got one more thing to say. There was a good friend of mine that said, the world is not a better place without Craig Farrell. And I believe that. The world is not a better place without Craig Farrell. But because of his love, his caring, his compassion for others, he truly made it a much better place, and I miss him.
You know, Reg, this being filled with the fruit of the Spirit was so embodied in Craig as he provided service to Brightstone. He and Jim alike. What makes a person give like that? What is it that sparks them to give so much of their time and their resources to a cause? Now, Jim and Craig both had firsthand experience. They have these precious sons. Hey, Brian. Hey. Okay, I just thought you'd want to make sure you're over there. And John, sitting over here. Hey, buddy. They knew firsthand what it means to have to get to, love to, provide for a young adult 24/7 for the rest of their life. He knew what it meant to struggle at times and have a fragile young adult in your home. But you know what? For Craig, for Jim alike, it went further than their own sons. They had a concern for others, and that concern just overflowed. In 1 John 4:11 and 12, it says, "Beloved, if God loves us, then why don't we love one another?" We're unable to see God at any time. But if we love one another, God abides in us, and it's His love that is perfected. And that's the overflowing of love that God has for every one of these precious adults, that Craig had for every one of these precious adults. And it's kind of like a cup of water that's just overflowing and overflowing and overflowing and going everywhere. That's God's love. That's Craig's love. It was Jim's love. And tonight, we're going to see a lot of that. This room is going to be overflowing. Thank you so very much for joining hands to learn more about Brightstone and to be a part of this venture. And now, I'm going to turn this over this evening to the 11th year to have as our host, our wonderful, outstanding Laura Hill.